Welcome to the deep dive. We've got a stack of sources here, articles, research, our notes, and we're ready to dig in and pull out the most important insights, the key nuggets of knowledge tailored just for you.
Yeah.
Today, we're plunging into the world of, well, a really unlikely titan, a former English teacher who somehow built this global empire, Jack Ma and Alibaba.
It's quite a story.
It really is. We're going to unpack how this house that Jack built, as they say, actually came to be. We'll be drawing deeply from some pretty insightful sources to really get at the core of this phenomenon.
And the scale is just, it's hard to wrap your head around sometimes. I mean, Alibaba became the largest virtual shopping mall on the planet.
Right.
At one point, it looked like it might even surpass giants like Walmart in the total value of goods sold across its platforms. It's just enormous.
And that IPO, the initial public offering back in September 2014 on the New York Stock Exchange, that wasn't just big, it was historic, wasn't it?
Oh, absolutely historic. It raised an unbelievable $25 billion. That made it the largest stock market flotation ever recorded anywhere at that time.
25 billion. Wow.
Yeah.
And then what happened right after that? The shares just took off, didn't they?
They soared.
Yeah.
I mean, it briefly pushed Alibaba into the ranks of the top 10 most valuable companies in the world.
Top 10 globally.
Yeah, market cap touching like $300 billion. And for a moment there, its value was actually higher than Amazon and eBay combined.
Combined.
Yeah.
That's almost unbelievable for someone like Jack Ma, who, just 9 days before that IPO turned 50 and became the richest man in Asia?
Exactly. It was this almost mythical ascent.
Hmm.
But, what's really interesting, and it's crucial to understand, is that despite hitting that incredible peak,
Yeah.
Alibaba's journey as a public company wasn't just straight up. After that high, the shares actually, they dropped quite significantly, by as much as half, even dipping below the initial IPO price for a bit.
Okay, wait. So, record-breaking IPO, soaring value, then falling by half. That's a serious drop. What happened? What caused that tumble right after such a massive debut?
Well, the research points to something quite unexpected, actually. The initial big trigger seems to have been this very public entanglement, you could call it, with a powerful government agency.
Government agency.
Yeah, in early 2015. Specifically, the State Administration for Industry and Commerce, the SAIC, it was all over intellectual property issues, counterfeit goods mainly.
Counterfeit.
Right. So it wasn't just, the market correcting itself. It was this direct public clash. And then that got amplified by other factors, a slowing Chinese economy, volatile global stock markets.
Right, so perfect storm almost.
Pretty much.
Okay.
So you're spot on. This story isn't just about incredible success. It's also deeply about resilience, about constantly adapting to, some pretty major headwinds.
Definitely. And that's really our mission today, isn't it? To get under the hood, understand the alchemy behind how Alibaba was created and how it keeps evolving.
Yeah, digging into Ma's personality.
Exactly. His unique personality, the huge hurdles he overcame, those innovative strategies that didn't just change e-commerce, but finance, logistics.
Yeah.
Basically reshaping huge parts of China.
And still shaping the future.
We're shaping the future. We'll be using these sources to really pull out those key nuggets of knowledge.
Right.
So to really get this, we have to start with the man himself, Jack Ma. His journey from such humble beginnings is maybe just as remarkable as Alibaba's rise itself.
Totally. His given name was Ma Yuan, born in Hangzhou, 1964. And it was the year of the dragon, which feels kind of fitting, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And his parents, they weren't in business or anything.
No, not at all. They were involved in Pingtan. It's a traditional Chinese folk art. It mixes like ballad singing with comedy routines.
Huh, interesting.
Yeah, and you can almost imagine, right, being around that kind of storytelling, that performance art from a young age. Maybe that's where his incredible communication skills, his natural charm came from. He's always been a captivating speaker.
Makes sense. But the timing of his childhood, 1964, that puts him right in the middle of some really tough times in China, doesn't it? Post-revolution, the Cultural Revolution.
Exactly. It was a seriously challenging environment. Mao Zedong had launched this campaign against the four old customs, culture, habits, ideas. Red Guards were out destroying temples, persecuting intellectuals.
It sounds terrifying.
It was. And his family was actually at risk. His grandfather had been a local official under the nationalist government, the losing side. That was a dangerous connection to have back then.
Wow. So did they face persecution?
He was apparently taunted a lot by classmates, faced that social stigma. But the sources say his family was fortunate, relatively speaking. They weren't broken up or subjected to those brutal public humiliation sessions, the struggle sessions that so many others endured.
Still, growing up under that shadow, it must have built some serious resilience.
You'd think so, yeah.
Yeah.
And you really see that determination, that inner drive, and how he went after learning English. He was completely obsessed.
Obsessed how?
Well, the stories are amazing. He'd wake up before dawn every single day. Rain, shine, snow, heat wave, didn't matter.
Every day.
Every day. Cycle 40 minutes to the main hotel in Hangzhou, the Hangzhou Hotel, just to find foreign tourists. And for 9 years straight,
9 years.
9 years, he gave them free tours of Westlake, didn't charge a penny, all just to practice his English.
That's incredible dedication. Just, wow, seeing that skill as his way out, maybe?
It seems like it.
Yeah.
And that dedication, it paid off big time. In 1980, it led to this life-changing encounter.
Okay, what happened?
He met an Australian family, the Morleys. Specifically, Ken Morley, who was a retired electrical engineer. And this chance meeting turned into this really enduring relationship, almost like family. They became pen pals.
Oh, you 10 pals.
Yeah, and Ken was really supportive. He'd actually asked Jack to double-space his letters.
Why double space?
So Ken could write corrections and feedback between the lines and mail them back. It was like this incredibly personalized long-distance English tutoring. Super generous.
That is amazing. Just out of kindness.
Totally. And then it gets even more impactful. In 1985, Ken Morley invites Jack to visit them in Newcastle, Australia.
His first trip outside China.
His very first. And Jack said it just completely blew his mind, shattered his whole worldview.
How so?
He said later something like, everything I had learned in China was that China was the richest country in the world. Standard propaganda back then. When I arrived in Australia, I realized it was totally different. I started to think, he said, you have to use your own mind to judge, to think. It was this huge moment of intellectual awakening for him, seeing things differently.
You can see how that would stick with you. And the Morley support didn't stop there, did it?
Not at all. It was really unconventional, especially considering Ken Morley was apparently a committed socialist, even a member of the Communist Party of Australia.
A socialist helping fund a future capitalist billionaire. That's ironic.
Massively ironic. Ken helped pay for Jack's university fees, sent him checks every week. And later, he even gave him a significant amount of money, around 22,000 Australian dollars, which was like 18,000 US back then.
For what?
To help Jack buy his first home. 2 apartments combined into a penthouse, apparently.
Wow. That's more than just support. That's enabling a life.
Absolutely. And Jack, in return, named his eldest son after Ken. Shows how deep that bond was. It really highlights Jack's ability to connect with people, but also how these individual acts of kindness can just fundamentally change someone's path.
Incredible story. So Jack's got this personal drive, this global perspective shift, thanks to the Morleys. But what was happening in China itself? What was the economic climate he was heading into?
Right, because no entrepreneur exists in a bubble. And this timing is crucial. 1992, Deng Xiaoping takes his famous Southern tour.
Ah, yes, the Southern tour.
Very significant.
Hugely significant. Visiting the special economic zones, pushing reform, and he makes this incredibly powerful statement: to get rich is glorious. To get rich is glorious, after decades of the opposite message.
Exactly. It basically gave the official green light to private enterprise to making money. It legitimized it. And Jack really internalized this. His takeaway was, you can be rich. You can help other people be rich. It wasn't just selfish. It was about enabling broader prosperity.
That must have been a seismic shift for people. Was there like a rush into business then?
There was definitely a movement. People even had a slang term for it. Jiehai.
Yeah, what's that mean?
Literally jumping into the sea. It meant leaving your safe government job, your iron rice bowl, to dive into the risky, uncertain waters of the private sector.
Jumping into the sea, I like that. But risky, you said.
Oh yeah, very risky initially. Remember, the Cultural Revolution wasn't that far in the past. People have been punished, even killed, for basic commercial activities. So going into business still felt borderline illegal, or at least socially suspect, for many. Xiai wasn't just changing jobs, it was a real leap of faith.
A leap Jack Ma eventually took? What was his first proper business?
His first official venture was the Hope Translation Agency. Started it in January 1994.
Hope Translation. Okay, how'd that go? Big success.
Not exactly. Not at first. It was tiny. 5 staff, mostly retired teachers, working out of a converted church.
Okay.
And the first month, their income was barely over $20. Rent was $300.
Ouch. So how did they survive?
Jack literally had to hit the streets. He started peddling good socks, handicrafts, things he bought wholesale from places like Yiwu just to make enough cash to cover the rent and keep the agency alive.
Wow. From aspiring translator to street peddler.
Yeah, but think about it. That experience, being a borrow boy, it wasn't just about survival. It gave him this incredibly valuable first-hand understanding of the informal economy, of how small sellers operate, the grit it takes.
Right. Direct market research.
Exactly. You can see the seeds of Alibaba, of Taobao right there.
Yeah.
That focus on the small guy, the understanding of their challenges. It foreshadowed everything.
So he's gritty, he's learning. And then comes the internet. His first encounter wasn't in China, was it? It was on that trip to the US.
Right, that infamous trip in 1994. He went over as an interpreter for some kind of highway dispute negotiation.
And things got a bit wild.
Understatement. The sources describe this bizarre story, sounds like something out of a movie. He gets virtually kidnapped by some bulky Californian in Malibu.
Kidnapped? Seriously?
Apparently. Flashing a gun, held in Vegas, escaping with $600 he won from slot machines. It's a crazy tale. Jack apparently prefers not to dwell on it these days.
I can imagine. But amidst all that chaos...
Amidst the chaos, he saw the internet for the first time. A friend showed it to him. And bam! He instantly saw the potential.
What potential specifically?
He had this vision, an online directory, an index, for Chinese businesses that wanted to find customers overseas, connect Chinese suppliers with the global market. That became his next venture, China Pages.
China Pages, okay. But setting that up back then in China must have been tough. Was the internet even widely available?
Barely. That's what makes the early operation sound almost comical now. There was literally no internet connection in Hangzhou when they started.
So, how did they build a website?
It was absurdly low-tech. They'd collect company info in Hangzhou, translate it into English, then physically mail the data on paper or floppy disks to a partner in Seattle.
Mail it to the US.
Yeah. Partner in Seattle would upload it to a server. Then, to show the clients what their website looked like, they'd print screenshots of the pages in Seattle and mail the printouts back to Hangzhou for Jack to show the clients.
That's unbelievable, selling something people couldn't even see or use directly.
Exactly. Jack said himself, "I was treated like a con man for 3 years." People just didn't get it.
But did it eventually work? Did they get online?
They did get some traction. Hangzhou finally got its first painfully slow internet connection in late '95. Took 3.5 hours to download a single page.
3.5 hours. Patience of a saint.
Seriously. But they signed up clients like the local Lakeview Hotel. And apparently, the hotel actually got bookings from some UN delegates because of its China Pages listing. So, proof of concept right there.
A glimmer of hope.
A glimmer. But ultimately, China Pages got squeezed out. They were too small, lacked the political connections, the Guangxi. A big, powerful state-owned enterprise, a telecom giant, basically registered a similar domain name and used its muscle to push them aside.
The power of the state-owned enterprises, that must have been crushing.
Painful, definitely. But Jack drew crucial lessons from it. One was, don't be nervous if you face huge competition in the future. Almost preparing himself mentally.
And the other.
Maybe even more important. He decided he would never again hold a controlling stake in his future ventures. He realized leading wasn't just about owning the most shares, it was about wisdom, courage, and resourcefulness, not capital. A fundamental shift in his thinking about control and leadership.
Okay, so Hope Translation struggled, China Pages got squeezed out, he even did a brief stint in a government job in Beijing, which he apparently hated.
Yeah, worked on some early e-commerce projects for a ministry, but felt stifled.
So third time's the charm. This leads us to Alibaba.
Yeah.
Exactly. February 1999. He goes back to Hangzhou, gathers 17 people, his co-founders, in his apartment. Lakeside Gardens apartment became the legendary first office.
17 people in his apartment. And notably, quite a few women among them, right?
Yes, 6 women among the 18 co-founders, including Jack. Quite progressive for the time and place.
And what was the vision he laid out there in that crowded apartment?
It was audacious. Right from the start, he told them, our competitors are not in China, but in Silicon Valley. We should position Alibaba as an international website.
Global ambition from day one, not just focused on China.
Not at all. And he had this analogy, inspired by Forrest Gump, actually. He said Alibaba wouldn't focus on the whales, the big corporations. They'd focus on the shrimp.
The shrimp, the little guy.
The small businesses, yeah. Millions of them. He saw their collective potential, the power in numbers, the underserved market. That became a core part of Alibaba's strategy, empowering the small players.
And central to that was his core philosophy, the mantra.
Absolutely. The Jack Magic mantra, you could call it. Every employee had to know it. Customers first, employees second, and shareholders third.
Customers first, employees second, shareholders third. That's pretty countercultural, especially the shareholders last part.
Totally. But it set the tone. It embedded this intense, customer-centric approach right into the company's DNA from the very beginning. It was about building the ecosystem, serving the users.
Now, getting this off the ground needed more than just vision. You mentioned Joe Tsai earlier. How crucial has he in these early days?
Oh, incredibly crucial. Joe Tsai, Taiwanese-born, Yale law grad, working a high-flying private equity job in Hong Kong, making like $700,000 a year.
Okay, so doing pretty well for himself.
Very well. And he meets Jack, hears the vision, and decides to quit his job and join Alibaba for basically no salary initially, just stock options.
Wow. What did he bring to the table?
Order, structure, financial savvy. Alibaba was, chaotic energy back then. Joe documented the 18 co-founders as shareholders, put together the business plan, sorted out the legal structures. He personally fronted the money to register the company offshore in the Cayman Islands, which was absolutely essential to attract foreign venture capital. Yeah. He made them investable.
So Jack had the vision, Joe brought the structure, the foundations are laid. Now let's talk about that iron triangle, the pillars of Alibaba's success. Pillar 1, e-commerce.
Right, and the big consumer-facing platform that really took off was Taobao.
Taobao, what does the name mean?
It means hunting for treasure, which is perfect, right?
Yeah, it is. When did it launch?
May 10th, 2003. They actually celebrate that date internally as Ala Day.
Ala Day, okay. And its slogan?
Also quite evocative. There is no treasure that cannot be hunted out, and there is no treasure that cannot be sold. Just reinforcing that idea of infinite possibility.
And it really became that, didn't it? The everything store of China.
Absolutely. The common phrase is wanting the Tawao. You can find everything on Taobao. But it wasn't just about the what. It was about the how. It captured the feeling of a Chinese market.
How so? What was the experience like?
It brought that chaotic, vibrant, personal energy of a street market online. You could actually haggle.
Haggle online?
Yeah, using their chat tool, Ali Wang Wang. You'd chat directly with the seller, negotiate price, ask for details. You expected discounts, free shipping. Sometimes sellers would even throw in little freebies like samples or small toys, just like in a real market.
Building that personal connection.
Exactly. And merchants were fiercely protective of their reputations. A bad review could kill their business, so they'd often bend over backwards, offer instant refunds, replacements, anything to keep customers happy. Trust was everything.
And they had those internal referees, the Ziar.
Right, the Zhouer. Literally means shop assistant or waiter. But here they were, these young client service managers, average age like 27.
And what did they do?
They were the mediators. If a customer and seller had a dispute they couldn't resolve, the Zhouer stepped in. And they had real power. They could investigate, make rulings, even shut down a merchant store completely if they found serious violations. They were also tasked with fighting internal corruption, kind of like market cops and judges rolled into one.
Wow, that's a serious level of oversight. So Taobao, Tmall for brands, Zhuozhuan for group buying. How did these platforms impact China's broader economy?
Hugely. They were a key driver in shifting China's economic focus, moving away from just being the world's factory, made in China, towards stimulating domestic consumption, bought in China.
Addressing that low consumption rate problem China had.
Exactly, and filling a massive gap. Traditional retail in China was often pretty poor state-owned department stores with bad service, limited selection. Alibaba unleashed this massive waste of consumer choice and fueled the growth of the new middle class. It basically built a modern consumer economy online.
And it wasn't just, clothes and electronics. The range of services available was kind of wild, reflecting social changes.
Oh, completely. You could, hire a fake girlfriend or boyfriend to take home to meet the parents if they were nagging you about getting married.
Seriously.
Yeah. Or you could outsource breaking up with someone. Hire someone to visit your elderly parents if you were working far away. It reflected all these modern pressures and solutions.
Even partnering with sperm banks.
Yeah. Zhuozhuan, the group buying site, teamed up with sperm banks in several provinces to offer financial incentives for donors. It just shows how deeply integrated the platform became into literally all aspects of life and society.
Amazing. And they didn't just stay online, did they? They invested in physical stores, too.
Right, that omni-channel strategy. They took a big stake in Suning, a major electronics retailer.
Why do that? Why invest in bricks and mortar?
To blur the lines. They knew people might still want to go see a TV or a fridge in person. The idea was, even if you browse offline at Suning, When you eventually buy it, maybe online later via Alibaba's Suning, still benefits, Alibaba gets the data, the customer journey is seamless. It was about owning the whole experience, online and offline. Very forward-thinking.
Okay, so that's e-commerce.
Yeah.
But for all those goods to move around, you need logistics. Pillar 2, Cainiao. Why did they feel the need to build their own logistics network? Weren't there delivery companies already?
There were, but they were struggling to keep up. The sheer volume coming off Taobao and Tmall was overwhelming the existing courier infrastructure. Deliveries were slow, packages got lost or damaged. It was becoming a major bottleneck for growth.
So Cainiao was the solution.
It was their incredibly ambitious plan to build this nationwide smart logistics network, not necessarily owning all the trucks and warehouses themselves, but coordinating a vast network of partners using technology.
Smart logistics, how does that work?
Big data is key. Analyzing massive amounts of data to predict demand, optimize delivery routes in real time, reroute trucks around traffic jams, basically making the whole system incredibly efficient.
And did it work? Was it more efficient?
The stats suggest yes. On Singles Day 2015, for example, the sources say less than 2% of Cainiao network shipments were late or damaged. Compare that to 15% for other couriers back then.
15% versus 2%, that's a huge difference.
Massive. They were aiming to handle something like 100 million packages a day by 2020. Just mind-boggling scale and efficiency.
Okay, so e-commerce logistics brings us to pillar 3, payments and finance, Alipay. This started as just a way to pay on Taobao.
It started primarily as a trust mechanism, which was genius. China back then had a very low trust environment for online shopping. People were scared of sending money and getting nothing or getting junk.
Right, how did Alipay solve that?
With an escrow system. When you bought something, your money went to Alipay, not directly to the seller. Alipay held it. Only when you received the goods and confirmed you were satisfied.
Like clicking, okay, this is what I ordered.
Exactly. Only then would Alipay release the funds to the seller. It created this crucial safety net, this layer of trust that made people comfortable buying from strangers online. Huge innovation.
But it grew way beyond just being an escrow service for Taobao, didn't it?
Oh, massively. It morphed into this ubiquitous virtual wallet. Hundreds of millions of people using it for everything.
Like what?
Sending money to friends, paying utility bills, topping up your phone credit, buying movie tickets, paying for groceries at the supermarket, even paying traffic fines. You could use it at KFC, convenience stores. It became the default way to pay for almost anything in urban China, the de facto digital currency. By 2018, projections were nearly $5 billion a year in revenue just from Alipay.
5 billion. And this wasn't just convenient, it was actively disrupting the established banks, right?
Hugely disruptive. Because China's big state-owned banks were, well, notoriously inefficient and indifferent, especially towards individuals and small businesses.
How so?
They were focused on lending to other big state-owned companies. Customer service for regular people was often terrible. Long queues, complex procedures. There was even this joke about ICBC, one of the biggest banks. People said its initials really stood for I could bother caring. Or, loosely translated, who cares if you save with us or not, whatever.
Huh. Okay, that paints a picture. So there was this huge gap in the market for financial services for ordinary people and small businesses.
A massive gap. And Alibaba, through Alipay and later Ant Financial, just charged right into it.
And the most explosive example of that was Yuabao.
Yuabao, yeah. Launched in 2013, savings balance treasure. It was basically an online money market fund integrated right into Alipay.
What was so special about it?
Two things, mainly. One, it offered much higher interest rates than you could get from a standard bank deposit account. Two, you could withdraw your money anytime without penalty. Super flexible, super easy to use, right there in your Alipay app.
So higher returns, more flexibility. Sounds like a winner. Did people use it?
Did they ever? It was an absolute phenomenon. In just 10 months, it pulled in over $93 billion in assets.
93 billion.
From 80 million users. It instantly became the fourth largest money manager in the world. Just incredible growth, tapping into all those small savings from ordinary people that the banks had ignored.
The banks must have freaked out.
Oh, they went ballistic. Total panic. They publicly denounced Yuibao managers as vampires sucking blood out of the banks.
Vampires. Strong language.
Yeah. And they lobbied the regulators hard. They managed to get rules imposed limiting how much money people could transfer from their bank accounts into Alipay and Yuibao. Yeah. A clear attempt to stifle the competition.
How did Jack Ma react to that?
He wasn't happy. He posted this fiery message online, later deleted it, probably under pressure. But it basically said the market, the customers, should decide who wins, not monopolies and authorities. A direct challenge.
Bold. So despite the pushback, they kept pushing into finance.
Absolutely. They launched MY Bank, offering microloans to merchants on their platforms, using transaction data to assess credit risk. Loans to consumers, too, constantly chipping away at the traditional banking system.
Okay, so the Iron Triangle e-commerce, logistics, finance is built and firing on all cylinders. This sets the stage for some major showdowns. And the most legendary one has to be the battle with eBay, right? How Alibaba basically kicked them out of China.
It's a classic case study, David versus Goliath. When eBay bought EachNet in 2003, eBay had something like 90% market share in Chinese consumer e-commerce. They were the undisputed king.
90%. That seems unbeatable. So why did Jack Ma even bother launching Taobao in the same year?
It was actually a defensive move initially. He said, I needed to stop eBay to protect Alibaba.
Protect Alibaba? How?
He saw that eBay's sellers, the power sellers, could easily start selling directly to consumers, B2C, encroaching on Alibaba's core business-to-business, B2B turf. He had to create a competing consumer platform to keep them contained.
Smart. So how did Taobao manage to overcome that 90% dominance? What did eBay do wrong?
eBay made a series of, frankly, catastrophic mistakes. The first big one was their pricing model.
What about it?
eBay charged fees for listing items, just like they did everywhere else. Taobao, on the other hand, came in and offered free listings, completely free.
Free versus paid. That's a big deal.
Huge deal, especially in China. The sources say Chinese merchants were especially allergic to paying fees. Culturally, you avoid costs if you can. So, free listings. Sellers flocked to Taobao. It created this immediate network effect, this virtuous circle. More sellers meant more buyers, which meant more sellers. Taobao grew exponentially.
Okay, free listings. What else?
Massive cultural misunderstandings. eBay had this very top-down, we-know-best attitude. They brought in foreign executives who didn't speak Chinese, didn't understand the local market nuances, consumer habits, how merchants like to operate.
Parachuting in expats?
Exactly. And it apparently demoralized the original EachNet team, the local guys who actually did know the market. Even Chinese Americans brought in sometimes clashed with local staff because management styles were so different.
And communication. We mentioned Ali Wang earlier, the chat tool on Taobao.
Yeah.
Did eBay have something similar?
Nope. That was another critical failure. eBay lacked that integrated chat function. Taobao users loved Ali Wang because they could haggle, ask detailed questions, build relationships. That personal touch is crucial in Chinese commerce. eBay felt cold, impersonal, purely transactional.
It just didn't fit the culture.
Didn't fit at all. And then, the technical nail in the coffin, eBay decided to move its servers outside of China.
Why would they do that?
Probably for control, standardization. But it was disastrous because of the Great Firewall, China's internet censorship system.
So website access became slow and unreliable.
Worse than slow. It led to constant timeouts, dropped connections, even things like usernames containing sensitive numbers like 64 or 89 referring to Tiananmen Square could trigger blocks.
Yeah.
The user experience just collapsed. People couldn't reliably access the site. They fled to Taobao.
So free listings, cultural connection, and better tech access. It all added up.
It completely dismantled eBay's dominance, which led to Jack Ma's famous line in 2005.
The crocodile in the Yangtze.
That's the one. eBay may be a shark in the ocean, but I have a crocodile in the Yangtze River. If we fight in the ocean, we lose, but if we fight in the river, we win. Perfect metaphor for local advantage.
And he also critiqued eBay's strategy, didn't he, about using money?
Yeah, he said something like, the moment eBay CEO Meg Whitman wanted to use money as her strategy, we knew she would lose. It wasn't about outspending, it was about outthinking, outlocalizing.
A masterclass in competitive strategy. Okay, another key relationship. Yahoo, the billion-dollar bet. Why did Yahoo invest so much in Alibaba?
Well, Yahoo was struggling badly in China. They'd had failed partnerships. Their search engine was losing ground globally to Google. They were kind of desperate for a winning China strategy.
So they saw Alibaba as their best hope.
Pretty much. They looked at other options, Sina, Baidu, but settled on Alibaba. And there was a personal connection, too. Jerry Yang, Yahoo's co-founder, actually knew Jack from years earlier when Jack was working as an interpreter for the government.
Ah, okay. Small world. So the deal in 2005...
Yeah, Project Pebble, they called it secretly. Yahoo invested a massive $1 billion for a 40% stake in Alibaba Group. And as part of the deal, they basically handed over their entire Yahoo China operation, search, portals, everything for Alibaba to run.
$1 billion? What did Jack plan to do with all that cash?
His main thought was funding the war chest against eBay. He said, "I thought the war between Taobao and eBay would last for a long time, so we needed enough cash to fight."
But ironically,
Ironically, eBay basically pulled out of China shortly after the Yahoo deal anyway. So Alibaba suddenly had this huge pile of cash freed up to invest in expanding Taobao, developing Alipay, and other ventures. It was transformative fuel for their growth. This deal also created that golden triangle. You mentioned Jack Ma, Jerry Yang, and Masayoshi Son from SoftBank, who was already a major investor. A powerful alliance.
but the Yahoo partnership wasn't all smooth sailing, was it? There was that controversy involving the journalist Shi Tao.
Right, that was a huge issue for Yahoo globally. In 2005, Yahoo China provided the Chinese government with information from journalist Shi Tao's email account, which led to his arrest and a 10-year prison sentence for divulging state secrets.
That caused a massive backlash against Yahoo, right? Accusations of complicity.
Huge backlash, a real black eye for Yahoo's reputation internationally.
How did Jack Ma, running Yahoo China by then, respond to that criticism?
His response was very pragmatic, some would say cold-blooded. He basically said, as a business, if you cannot change the law, follow the law. Respect the local government. We're not interested in politics. We're just focused on e-commerce. His stance was that they had to operate within the legal framework of the country they were in, even if it was ethically challenging.
A controversial but consistent position for him, it seems. Okay, so Alibaba's rising, eBay's defeated, but new rivals emerge. This brings us to the era of the Bati.
Right. Baidu, Alibaba, Tencent. The big three of China's internet. Baidu dominating search, Alibaba e-commerce and later cloud, and Tencent ruling social media and gaming.
And Tencent, founded just months before Alibaba, became a particularly fierce competitor, didn't they? Especially with WeChat.
Oh yeah, Tencent hit gold first with QQ, their desktop instant messenger, which was massive. But then WeChat launched in 2011. That was a game changer.
WeChat. It's more than just messaging, right? It's like every...
Exactly. It's often called the super app. One app to rule them all. Messaging, social media, moments, payments, WeChat Pay, booking taxis, ordering food, paying bills.
Yeah.
It integrated into every aspect of daily life, especially on mobile.
And they used it to attack Alibaba directly in payments with that red packet campaign.
The Hongbao campaign, yeah.
Yeah.
During Lunar New Year 2014, they enabled users to send virtual red envelopes filled with small amounts of money to friends and groups via WeChat Pay. It went viral. Millions of people linked their bank accounts to WeChat Pay overnight. Jack Ma famously called it a Pearl Harbor attack on Alipay.
Pearl Harbor, he felt blindsided.
Totally. It highlighted how potent Tencent's mobile social network was, and how vulnerable Alipay potentially was if it didn't strengthen its own mobile and social presence.
So how did Alibaba respond? Did they try to build their own WeChat killer?
They tried. They launched a social app called Wang. It didn't go well.
How badly?
They actually mandated that Alibaba employees had to sign up 100 users each just to get their annual bonuses. A sign of desperation, really. Wang failed to get traction.
Okay, so direct competition failed. What else did they do on the mobile front?
Acquisitions and investments. They bought UC Web, a popular mobile browser. They invested heavily in AutoNavi for mapping services' crucial mobile data. And they took a big stake in Sino-Weibo, China's Twitter equivalent, to get access to that social graph and data stream, trying to build a mobile ecosystem through partnerships and acquisitions since they couldn't beat WeChat head-on in social.
And the fight over mobile payments, Alipay versus WeChat Pay, just intensified?
Absolutely. It became the core battleground, the next frontier. Who would own the digital wallet? Alibaba pushed MYBank for small business loans. Tencent countered with WeBank for instant consumer loans via WeChat. Fierce competition.
And this rivalry extended beyond just their core apps, right? They started fighting proxy wars.
Yeah, it became like a Cold War almost. They'd back rival companies in emerging hot sectors. The ride-hailing battle was epic.
Right, Didi versus Kuwaiti.
Exactly. Tencent backed Didi Dash. Alibaba backed Kuwaiti Dash. They poured billions into subsidies, trying to buy market share. One analyst called it the first battle in the world war of the internet.
Billions in subsidies just for taxi apps.
Crazy money. Eventually, the investors basically forced them to merge into Didi Kuwaiti, now just Didi, creating this massive dominant player. But it showed how Alibaba and Tencent were shaping entire industries through their investments. Same thing happened with group buying sites. Meituan, backed by Alibaba initially, and Dianping, backed by Tencent, eventually merged too.
They became the two poles of the Chinese internet ecosystem. And Jack Ma wasn't afraid to stir the pot with his rivals like JD.com.
No, he definitely wasn't shy. JD.com, another major e-commerce player heavily backed by Tencent, was a frequent target. He publicly called JD's business model, which relies heavily on owning its own logistics and inventory, a tragedy.
A tragedy. That's harsh.
Very harsh. He later sort of apologized, jokingly saying his next private chat about JD would have to be in a public bath, implying he needed complete privacy to speak his mind freely. Classic Jack Ma deflection.
So this intense rivalry between Alibaba and Tencent, but sometimes they also cooperated or merged their backed companies?
Yeah, that's the interesting dynamic. From the big three, BAT, it increasingly started looking like a big two duopoly, with Alibaba and Tencent's influence spreading everywhere, sometimes even collaborating when it suited them, like in those mergers.
Which raises questions, doesn't it, about market concentration, consumer choice, and how the government views this immense power accumulating in just two private companies.
Exactly. Which brings us back to that incredibly complex relationship, Alibaba and the Chinese government. And alongside that, the persistent, thorny issue of counterfeit goods.
Right. Jack Ma's philosophy on government relations was famously,
Fall in love with the government, don't marry them, respect them.
fall in love, don't marry. What does that mean in practice?
It means engage, cooperate where necessary, show respect for their authority and goals, but try desperately to maintain operational independence. Don't become completely beholden or intertwined. It's a very fine line to walk.
And the scale of that engagement was huge. You mentioned delegation visits.
Immense. Sources say Alibaba hosted something like 44,000 government delegation visits in just 1 year, 2014. Officials from all levels wanting to see the powerhouse, understand the model. Jack even joked he never knew where his private jet would be flying next because he'd get summoned to meetings or events by officials constantly.
That's intense pressure and scrutiny, and sometimes that relationship fractured publicly, like with the SAIC dispute over counterfeits in 2015.
That was a major public clash. The State Administration for Industry and Commerce released this scathing report just before Chinese New Year, accusing Taobao of having a rampant proliferation of fakes, claiming less than 40% of goods sampled were genuine.
Wow, less than 40%. That's damaging.
Hugely damaging. It triggered a sharp drop in Alibaba's stock price right after their big U.S. IPO. And it led to Alibaba being put back on the U.S. Trade Representative's notorious markets list for counterfeit goods. A major blow to their international image.
So how did Alibaba respond to that pressure? Did they step up their anti-counterfeit game?
They had to. They poured resources into it, increased the dedicated anti-counterfeit team to over 450 people, used secret shoppers to buy goods undercover, implemented a tougher 3 strikes and you're out policy for vendors caught selling fakes.
And they had some creative ways to stop banned sellers from just popping up again under a new name.
Yeah, these proof-of-life tactics. If they suspected a banned seller was trying to re-register, they might ask them to submit a photo holding their ID card next to that day's newspaper, or strike a specific unusual pose of the day in the photo, trying to make it harder to fake a new identity.
Clever, if a bit dystopian. Were they using technology too? Big data.
Definitely. Big data was crucial. Analyzing sales patterns, looking for anomalies. Like, if someone's selling thousands of Gucci bags for $20 each, the system flags it price point analysis, they call it. And the ultimate weapon was denying access to Alipay.
Ah, cutting off their money.
Exactly.
Oh.
If a merchant couldn't use Alipay, they basically couldn't do business on the platform. A very powerful deterrent.
But even with all that, the criticism didn't completely stop. Brands like Kering still sued them.
Right. Kering, the owner of Gucci, Saint Laurent, etc., filed a big lawsuit in the U.S. accusing Alibaba of basically facilitating trademark infringement, even pointing out how searching for Gucci could bring up results for fakes like Gucci.
And Jack Ma's reaction to lawyers was not positive.
He seemed deeply frustrated. He famously said, "Don't send lawyers. These lawyers don't understand business. They don't understand e-commerce." He felt they were missing the bigger picture, the complexities of managing a massive open marketplace.
Beyond outright fakes, there was also this issue of brushing. What's that?
Brushing is essentially faking sales volume. Merchants hire people, or use bots, to place fake orders for their products to artificially inflate their sales numbers and boost their search ranking on the platform.
Why would they do that? Just for vanity?
No, it's purely strategic. Higher sales volume means higher search ranking, more visibility, which leads to more real sales. Especially crucial on platforms like Tmall, where brands compete fiercely and during big sales events like Singles Day. It's a constant cat-and-mouse game for Alibaba to detect and stop this fake activity as it distorts the marketplace.
Okay, so we've seen the empire, the battles. Let's shift focus now to the inside. Alibaba's DNA, its culture, the values. that Jack magic.
Right. And Jack's role, even after stepping down as CEO, remained immense, largely because he never really stopped being a teacher.
The chief education officer.
Exactly. He joked about it, but it was true. His influence came from his passion for teaching, his humor, his ability to connect, to tell stories that resonated.
And he cultivated this maverick image, didn't he, with his looks, the performances.
Definitely. He's got this unique look, short, thin, big head, often described as elfin or owlish, nicknamed E.T. He leaned into it. The mohawk, the nose ring, singing Elton John to 17,000 employees.
Yeah.
It was all part of crafting this image of an unconventional, rebellious leader, very different from the typical staid Chinese executive.
It certainly made him stand out. And this Jack magic, what was the essence of it?
It was this almost uncanny ability he had to charm, persuade, inspire. People talked about his charisma. He connected emotionally. He used humor, metaphors drawn from martial arts novels, his obsession, pop culture references. He could apparently move seasoned executives to tears with his speeches. It was about belief, vision, shared purpose.
And the core message, the mantra that drove the culture.
Customers first, employees second, shareholders third. That was non-negotiable.
Customers first. How did that play out day to day?
You saw it in the power given to the Zhaor to resolve disputes in favor of customers. You saw it in the intense focus on serving those millions of small business shrimp. Jack genuinely saw himself as an apostle for small business. He called it his religion.
And the employees second. How did they foster that loyalty among the Aliran?
Josai called the early employees disciples, which says a lot about their commitment. Jack pushed them incredibly hard with that mantra. Today is brutal, tomorrow is more brutal, but the day after tomorrow is beautiful.
But most people die tomorrow night. Yeah, intense stuff.
Super intense. But it forged this incredible resilience, this belief that collective sacrifice would lead to ultimate success. It wasn't just a job, it was a cause.
And they backed it up with tangible benefits, like share options.
Crucially, yes. Giving share options to all employees early on was almost unheard of in China then. It created real ownership, real loyalty, and practical help too, those interest-free loans for apartment down payments. Up to $50,000 in expensive cities like Hangzhou, that's life-changing support. It showed they cared about employees' lives outside work.
Okay, so customers first, employees second. What about shareholders third? How did that work? He seemed to enjoy poking fun at them.
He did cultivate that populist image, the little guy fighting big finance, but strategically, he was smart. While the rhetoric was anti-shareholder sometimes, he made sure to create regular opportunities roughly every 4 years. Sources suggest for employees and long-term investors to actually cash out and profit from their shares. He knew he needed to deliver returns to keep the engine running, even if he downplayed their importance publicly.
You can even see his personality in the headquarters design, the campus.
Yeah, the huge wetlands campus in Hangzhou. It's futuristic, but has personal touches. A big man-made lake reflects his passion for environmentalism. Villas named after characters from his favorite martial arts novels, like The Water Margin. He aimed for 108 employees initially, like the 108 heroes in that novel. It's all woven together.
And the internal culture, nicknames, bulletin boards.
Very unique. Lots of employees take nicknames, often from Jin Young's novels, again reflecting Jack's influence. There's an internal forum called Alleyway, where staff could post suggestions or complaints, even directly tagging Feng Qingyang, Jack's online persona, named after a reclusive swordmaster. It fostered this sense of open, if sometimes chaotic, communication.
And his motto for work-life balance was unusual, too.
Yeah, most say work seriously, live happily. Jack flipped it. Work happily, live seriously, find joy in the challenge of work, but approach your life outside work with real purpose and intensity. It's a different philosophy.
And the core company values, the six-vein spirit sword, where did that come from?
Also from Jin Young's novels. It's not a literal sword. It refers to cultivating 6 internal strengths or virtues to defeat opponents, like building inner power.
And those 6 veins, the values are?
Customer first, teamwork, embrace change, integrity, passion, and commitment. And these aren't just words on a poster. They make up 50% of an employee's performance review. Half your appraisal is based on how well you live these values.
50%. They really mean it. And embrace change seems particularly key.
Very key. It's reflected in how they often rotate employees between different jobs and departments, and the explicit idea of embracing setbacks. That's radical in a culture where failure is traditionally seen as deeply shameful. It's much more like Silicon Valley, fail fast, learn, move on.
And the HR department has unusual power, the political commissar.
That's the informal nickname, yeah. HR at Alibaba is incredibly influential, oversees hiring, promotions, extensive training programs that really drill down on culture and ideology, not just job skills, ensuring everyone is truly an Aliran. It reflects this demanding, almost missionary zeal, this long march culture of personal sacrifice and total commitment, which contrasts with rivals like Tencent, sometimes seen as more focused on quick wins, running with short steps.
Okay, let's look beyond the core business now. Alibaba's bigger ambitions, new horizons. Starting with their first IPO back in 2007. That wasn't the whole company, was it?
No, that was a strategic move. They only listed the original B2B platform, Alibaba.com, in Hong Kong. It was the stable, profitable part of the business then. Taobao and Alipay were still losing money, investing heavily for growth.
So why list just that part?
To raise money, primarily. It
Yeah.
created a huge war chest, about $1.8 billion. And that money wasn't really for Alibaba.com. It was explicitly raised to fund the expansion of Taobao and Alipay. Classic Jack Ma foresight. Raise money when we don't need it. Get the capital ready for the future battles.
And again, he prioritized employees during that IPO.
He did. He encouraged employees who had Alibaba.com shares to sell some, buy apartments, buy cars, reward their families for sticking with the company through the tough early years. People first again.
But then the 2008 financial crisis hit.
Yeah.
Alibaba.com was B2B global trade. That must have hurt the stock price.
It hammered the stock price, yeah. Global trade collapsed. But Jack's response was fascinating. Instead of panicking about profits, he focused the platform on building community forums, helping traders connect and share information. His insight was that the crisis would force Chinese factories, which mostly made goods for export, to look inward towards the domestic market.
And who is best positioned to capture that domestic market?
Taobao. So paradoxically, the global crisis indirectly gave a massive boost to Alibaba's domestic consumer platform. Strategic agility again.
Okay, fast forward a few years to 2011, the Alipay controversy. This sounded like a major corporate governance blow-up. What happened?
It was a shocker. News emerged, kind of buried in a Yahoo Finance report, that Alipay had been transferred out of the main Alibaba group, the one Yahoo and SoftBank had invested in, into a separate company that was personally controlled by Jack Ma.
Transferred out without the main shareholders, Yahoo and SoftBank, really knowing or agreeing.
That was the allegation. It caused uproar. Jack's defense was that it was absolutely necessary for regulatory reasons.
What risk?
New rules from China's central bank, the PBOC, were coming in that required online payment providers like Alipay to have a license. And crucially, those licenses could only be granted to domestically owned Chinese companies. Foreign ownership, like Yahoo and SoftBank's stake in Alibaba Group, was a barrier. Jack argued he had to move Alipay into a 100% Chinese-owned entity he controlled to secure the license. Otherwise, Alipay and potentially all of Alibaba would be crippled. He claimed it was 100% legal and 100% transparent, though transparency was definitely debated.
So, a necessary move to comply with Chinese law, but done in a way that blindsided his major foreign investors.
That seems to be the crux of it. What followed were incredibly tense, complicated negotiations between Alibaba, Yahoo, and SoftBank to figure out compensation and future arrangements for Alipay.
The peace talks at the UN, as Jack called them.
Exactly. He described Masa Son of SoftBank as an iron rooster, stingy, unwilling to give an inch. It was clearly a brutal negotiation over valuation, control, profit sharing, high stakes for everyone.
Did this damage trust in Alibaba or in Chinese tech companies using similar structures? You mentioned the VIE structure earlier.
It definitely raised serious questions. The influential Chinese magazine Caixin criticized the move heavily, arguing it undermined the fragile trust underpinning the VIE structure.
Right, that variable interest entity structure. Just remind us quickly what that is.
Sure, it's basically a legal workaround. Foreigners often can't directly own shares in sensitive Chinese sectors like the internet, so they set up these contractual agreements. The foreign listed entity doesn't own the Chinese operating company directly, but controls it through contracts, managing its finances, appointing directors, etc. It allows foreign investment, but relies heavily on the enforceability of those contracts.
And the Alipay transfer showed how those contracts could potentially be bypassed by the Chinese founder.
Exactly. It spooked foreign investors. If Jack Ma could just unilaterally move a key asset like Alipay out of the VIE structure, what did that mean for their investments at other Chinese tech firms using similar setups? It created a lot of uncertainty. Eventually, they reached a compensation agreement, which cleared the path for Alibaba's massive 2014 IPO, but the controversy left scars.
Okay, so looking beyond those past battles, what did Alibaba see as its core growth drivers for the future post-IPO?
They really focused on three main areas. First, cloud computing and big data, their Aliyun division.
Allian. And they talked about shifting from IT to DT, information tech to data tech. What's the difference?
It's a conceptual shift. IT is about the tools, servers, software networks that process information. DT, as Alibaba framed it, is about the data itself being the core asset. Using the massive amounts of data flowing through their e-commerce, logistics, and payment systems, not just to run things efficiently, but to predict trends, personalize experiences, even drive manufacturing decisions based on real-time consumer demand, the C2B, consumer-to-business model. Data as the engine of the entire business. Their goal was audacious. Overtake Amazon in 4 years in cloud and data.
Data as the new oil, essentially. Okay, second growth area.
Rural markets. Tapping into the huge potential of China's vast countryside. This aligned perfectly with government policy too, Premier Li Keqiang's Internet Plus initiative trying to digitize traditional industries in rural areas.
So they made a conscious push into rural China.
Very much so. Setting up service centers, logistics networks, training programs. Jack Ma even made a symbolic visit to Yan'an, the old communist revolutionary base, to talk about using e-commerce for rural economic development, providing loans to rural entrepreneurs, helping them sell local products online. Good business and good politics.
And the third pillar for future growth.
Globalization. A renewed push for cross-border trade. Two main thrusts here. One is AliExpress, their platform connecting Chinese sellers directly with consumers all over the world, empowering those small Chinese businesses to export globally.
Okay, China selling to the world. What's the other direction?
Bringing international brand into China. Selling to Chinese consumers via Tmall Global. This was also strategic for improving relationships with Western brands like Kering, who'd criticize them over fakes, giving them a legitimate controlled channel to access the massive Chinese market directly.
So expanding outwards and inwards simultaneously on the global stage. Beyond pure business, Jack Ma himself took on a much more public role as a philanthropist and, well, a kind of philosopher figure, didn't he?
He really did. He and Joe Tsai made this huge commitment, pledging stock options equivalent to 2% of Alibaba's equity worth billions to set up massive charitable trusts, among the biggest ever in China, focusing on environment and healthcare primarily.
Environment seems to be a real passion for him. He's been quite outspoken.
Incredibly outspoken, especially for a Chinese tycoon. He gave that quote, "Our water has become undrinkable, our food inedible, our milk poisonous, and worst of all, the air. So polluted we often cannot see the sun." Very blunt criticism of China's environmental crisis. He backed it up with actions, too, buying land for conservation like Brandon Park in New York, collaborating with Bill Gates on clean energy and health initiatives.
And he framed Alibaba's future investments around health and happiness, the two H's.
Right. Health, through Alibaba Health, trying to use tech to fix inefficiencies in China's healthcare system, online appointments, diagnostics, access to medicine, and happiness, through investments in entertainment and media. Alibaba pictures investing in Hollywood movies like Mission Impossible, Alibaba Sports Group.
Why movies? What was his thinking there?
He had this interesting theory that American movies often inspire hope because the heroes usually survive against all odds. He felt many traditional Chinese stories where the hero dies tragically for a cause could be less uplifting for modern audiences. So investing in happiness industries was part of his vision.
Interesting take. But venturing into media, like buying the South China Morning Post newspaper in Hong Kong, that felt like wading into trickier territory, didn't it? Politically sensitive.
Very sensitive.
Yeah.
The SCMP acquisition in 2015 raised a lot of eyebrows. Why buy a traditional newspaper, especially one in politically turbulent Hong Kong? Motivations were debated. Was it just wanting the prestige, like Jeff Bezos buying the Washington Post? Or was it a strategic move to gain influence, maybe curry favor with Beijing by ensuring more positive coverage of China, especially regarding Hong Kong? Probably a mix of factors.
It definitely highlights the risks for high-profile entrepreneurs in China, especially under Xi Jinping's leadership, where the lines between business and politics can blur, and scrutiny has increased.
Absolutely. The environment became much tighter. You saw incidents like the temporary disappearance of Guo Guangchang, the chairman of Fosun Group, in 2015, detained by authorities with little explanation initially. It sent chills through the private sector. That quote from another entrepreneur really sums up the feeling. In the eyes of a government official, we are nothing but cockroaches. If he wants to kill you, he kills you. A stark reminder of where ultimate power lies.
A chilling perspective. So
Yeah.
looking at Jack Ma's actions, the philanthropy, the environmentalism, the media buys, are these just personal interests or part of a bigger strategy in navigating that complex political landscape?
The sources strongly suggest it's strategic. It's not just about personal legacy. It's about demonstrating how Alibaba's technology and resources can help the government achieve its goals, tackling pollution, improving healthcare, creating jobs, alleviating poverty, projecting soft power. By aligning with national priorities, the hope is to create goodwill and secure the political space needed for Alibaba to continue growing, especially into sensitive, state-dominated sectors like finance, media, and data. As one Chinese internet leader put it, most people think of Alibaba as a story. It's not just a story, it's a strategy.
A strategy for survival and continued growth in a unique environment.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive, it's just incredible to reflect on Jack Ma's journey. From that English teacher in Hangzhou facing setbacks to building this global behemoth that fundamentally altered China's economy and daily life. It really is remarkable. Alibaba's strategies in e-commerce, logistics, finance, they weren't just copies of Western models. They were deeply adapted to and born out of China's specific context. That's how they outmaneuvered giants like eBay and created something truly transformative for hundreds of millions of people.
And the Jack magic, his unique leadership, that corporate culture, it's clear that was a huge part of it. That blend of resilience, the customer-first obsession, always being ready to embrace change, even chaos.
That DNA is undeniable. It's what allowed them to navigate those fierce battles and the complex dance with the state.
So for you listening, what are the key takeaways here? Alibaba's story is this rich case study, isn't it? About navigating complex markets, about disruptive innovation, about balancing growth with regulation.
Absolutely. The iron triangle model, the leadership lessons, the constant adaptation. There are insights here that go way beyond just business. It's about strategy, culture, perseverance on a massive scale.
And it leaves us with a big question to ponder, doesn't it? As Alibaba keeps expanding globally, moving deeper into AI, healthcare, entertainment, how will that unique made in China DNA forged in such a specific environment?
Yeah, how will it continue to shape not just Alibaba's future, but the future of technology and commerce worldwide?
Yeah.
It's definitely something we'll be watching closely.